Story.
Ladies and gentlemen,
cut the music. Hit the music.
I have my name is Neely, I'll be 89 years old in 3 months. I was a bomber pilot in the 8th Air Force out of England in 1943 and 44. I started in the late fall of 43. I trained after flying school, but I graduated in 42. I went in about 3 weeks after Pearl Harbor, and I graduated in the fall of 42 from flying school. And I trained in Florida in B-17s, the Flying Fortress, and I went sent west, and then they changed the whole 2nd Air Force over to B-24 Liberators. That's when I flew in combat. I was sent to England. I was the 392nd Bomb Group, 578th Squadron. I was ended up being a flight commander, and they had intelligence, and the 8th Air Force started standing us down and closing the bases along into January, 1st of February of 1944. Get closer! The Germans had so much intelligence in England that to throw the German intelligence off, they started closing down all the air bases along about the end of February of 44 for 24 hours. On the 4th day of June of 44, we had a USO troop come into our air base and perform, headed by James Cagney and some very lovely chorus girls. So the CO asked me. Tell us some of those stories. So the CO asked me if I would take them back after the show back to Norwich, England. All the bombers were in northeast England, up in what they call East Anglia. So I take them back to Norwich in some staff cars, the USO troop, and coming back in, the MP stopped us and said, the base is closed. So I said, look, man, I just get the office of the day. I've just taken the USO troop back to Norwich. So he called the office of the day and said, Captain Young is here with some staff cars, said, let him in. So the next afternoon, the 5th of June, there were 3 of us that were flight commanders and senior pilots, combat-wise, not age, but combat-wise. There were 3 of us who were flight commanders.
How old were you, Neely?
So I was 23 years old. So they came around, the aides of the CO came around and said they wanted to see Cliff Edwards, John Reed, and myself. The CO did, Colonel Johnson, in his private quarters. He had a small briefing room there. We normally got briefed in a great big auditorium for our mission. This was to be my 27th or 28th mission over Europe, mainly over Germany. So he pulled up the shade. He said, boys, this is it. This is what we've been waiting on all this time. He showed the route in. It was like a highway on the map that he had. We left Southampton. We flew in a very restricted area because we were told, Johnny Johnson, the CO said that if we got outside of those borders, that our own anti-aircraft would fire at us. So he said, this is what we've been waiting on. He said, the first mission, we're going over Omaha Beach. He said, the first mission will be led by Cliff Edwards. He was the senior pilot in the group. He said, John Reed will lead the 2nd mission, and Neely Young will lead the 3rd mission. So he gave us the times and so forth. So they took off around midnight on the 6th, a little after midnight. Cliff Edwards led the first group over. He couldn't see anything. it was completely overcast over Omaha. I was still getting my briefing. I was to lead the third mission. We took off around 1600, 1630 hours, 4:30. I was leading the group, and the group was leading the wing. I was leading about 40, 50 aircraft because we had 3 missions that day. Our group and all the groups. They had everything that would get in the air that day. Everything. So, anyhow, I said, why do I have to lead the third mission, Johnny? He said, Neely, if I catch you riding wasteland the gun with Cliff on the first mission, I'll court-martial you. I said, well, I'm surprised you haven't done that before. So anyway, I get my final briefing about 13 half, 1400 hours, 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm in my aircraft about 3 o'clock. So we take off, we get the green flare, I take off, I'm the flight commander leading the group's leading the wing. The wing consists of 3 groups. So they told us that we would break clear and start forming at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet. My being the first one to take off on this third mission, I was at 5,000 feet and still in the suit. So I called the tower, I said, I'm 5,000 still in it. He said, keep climbing. So I climbed, and I didn't break out of it until about 6,000 feet. So I called and said, I'm out of it now. So they started forming on me, but because of the weather, it was so bad that day that instead of my 18 aircraft, I had about 12 or 13 of my group following me over Omaha that day. So I looked over there after we formed, and I saw we were 3 or 4 short. I saw 17 over there, 24 over there. I called them on our band, come on, get with us. So we had when I was there, we finally got 18 aircraft, but they weren't all B-24s from our group. I lost an engine over the channel. So my deputy lead called me. He said, Neely, do you want me to take over? I said, hell no. I said, we're only flying at 9,000.